Hey parents, this video is for you if your kiddo is struggling with a sensory processing issue, whether it's a fully diagnosed sensory processing disorder or you see their day-to-day life being affected. Maybe they don't like to go to the store or to movies. Maybe they dread a birthday party or an outing that's not predictable. Maybe they take in half an hour to get dressed every morning because their system is always on edge, always afraid of being overwhelmed. And as a parent, your heart goes out to your kiddo because you see another kiddo in the exact same situation thriving, doing well, enjoying it, and you want that for your kiddo. Maybe you want them to receive the attention of friends and family as they're singing happy birthday. Maybe you want them to enjoy those field trips at school, but their system gets overwhelmed, and as a result, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling nervous. Maybe they have outbursts and tantrums and meltdowns very easily, or they seem defiant and stubborn because their brain knows if they go into that stimulating situation, they're going to get overwhelmed. As a result, they want to withdraw and retreat. Not only is it heartbreaking as a parent, but it can be frustrating as well because of all the effort you're putting in. I often give the analogy of a castle where you want to protect your child from this overstimulation. So you build the walls of the castle high and you build the moat nice and wide and you protect. And it's exhausting as a parent when all you're doing is protecting your child and you realize, I don't know if I'm actually getting to the root of the problem. So in this video, I want to share with you what we look for in our office to actually get to the root of the problem and help your child get better, because that's what we're passionate about, is helping children not just feel more comfortable by avoiding, but actually being able to engage more in the world because their brain and their nervous system are actually getting healthier. So I'm going to show you that test here in a moment. If you're newer to sensory processing, you might feel kind of confused because part of it can be overwhelm, overstimulated by sound, by light, super sensitive to grass or bugs or that tactile input. That's why you kiddo might need the seams on their socks lined up perfectly, or they refuse to wear jeans. They only need a loose waistband. On the flip side, I'll share more of this in a next video, is your kiddo might feel underwhelmed by sensory information, and that's often where they need more, so they're sensory seeking. They chew on everything, they run into the walls, they hug really tight because their brain is seeking information. Either way, the goal is to help their nervous system feel more calm in the environment that they're in, so they don't need to withdraw, they don't need to seek, but they can actually feel grounded and calm. So I want to share with you the one test that we do in our office that helps to see if we can help kiddos with sensory processing. And the reason I share this test is what we are passionate about. You can see, I'll show you here in a moment, all this stress in this kiddo's body is if a kiddo has a lot of stress internally, it can be stressing their brain from inside their body. So there's two things that we look for to actually help get to the root of problem of sensory processing. Number one is there's stress inside the body that can be stressing the brain, even when the external environment is perfect. Example here is maybe there's a robber already inside the castle. So it doesn't matter how high you build the walls or how wide you build the moat. If the robber's already inside the castle, it's going to add stress to the situation. And then the second thing is, if there is stress inside the body, it's going to prevent those sensory experiences from ever getting properly integrated, and your child's nervous system is always going to stay on edge. It's going to feel like their foot is always on the gas pedal. They're always in stress mode. And to get them out of that, we need to activate the brake pedal in the nervous system. So in this girl's case, she was 7 years old when she came to see us, and she had a big issue with tactile. She didn't wear socks. She wore clothes that were 1 to 2 sizes too big because she didn't like tightness. She didn't wear lotion, so in the winter, Mom said her hands would get raw and red. Mom brought her to the OT a few times. The OT said, we can't do anything more. She tried the pediatrician, no help there. As a result, with all this stress in her body, she had a lot of outbursts and was more defiant than Mom wanted to see. As you can see on her scans, we're looking for stress inside her nervous system that's going to be affecting her brain and her brain's ability to take in all of this sensory input. So white bars are ideal. You can see this big area of red and blue. Green is mild, blue is moderate, red severe. So you can see where we have a lot of extra stress in her upper neck and across her shoulders. Now, often parents wonder, why does my kiddo have a sensory issue? Where did it come from? And what we look for is stress early on in life. So whether it's a stressful pregnancy, stressful labor delivery, maybe it's something that happens in infancy, maybe they fall off the changing table or experience something that overwhelms their brain and nervous system. In the case of labor and delivery, more commonly, it's something like suction, forceps, C-section, a long labor. I'm going to show you another kiddo next where mom was in labor for 60 hours and had to push for 3 hours. However, once in a while, we'll see something a little bit different where things go actually really fast. So in this 7-year-old's case, labor happened really fast. Mom said after her first big contraction, an hour later, baby was out. So in that case, it's boom, and baby's coming out. That can actually add stress to these areas, especially the most critical areas that allow sensory input to come into the brain in an organized way. As a result, there was noise coming in too loudly, and you can see this upper part of the neck. That's that brake pedal area. That's the vagus nerve. If you've been looking into sensory, you're probably starting to run across the vagus nerve because it's what calms and organizes the brain. It actually is one of the keys for sensory processing. When I presented at the Minnesota Association for Children's Mental Health earlier this year on sensory processing and its effects on mental health, and one of the studies I shared was they took groups of kiddos with sensory issues and they found that those with the more severe sensory issues had less activity in their vagus nerve, that brake pedal. So if that vagus nerve is off, it's going to impact how well your child's brain can start to stay calm and organized. Once we found that was going on in this little girl, we started adjusting. And one of the first things mom noticed is that she started to become calmer. She wasn't so much on edge. A couple weeks into care, I looked down and I'm like, "Hey, Alice, you're wearing socks today." And she goes, "Yeah, I slept with mom last night. No big deal." Started to wear clothes that were more appropriate for her size. Instead of an hour to get dressed in the morning, suddenly it was down to 10, 15 minutes. As she started to feel calmer and more grounded, mom noticed school going better, behaviors going better, interactions at home going better with her siblings and mom and dad. One of the reasons this change happened is, you can see here, things are really calming down. Her body's starting to unwind that old stress and be in a much calmer state. Now, the cool thing, this follow-up scan was just 2.5 months later. So the power that we can see when we start to get the nervous system on track is these changes can start to happen relatively quickly, especially if maybe you have gone to OT or PT for 6 months or a year and you see like, yeah, it's kind of steady change, but we feel like we've plateaued or never really taken off. Often it's because there's that robber in the castle. Something's stressing your kiddo's nervous system from inside and slowing down progress. So the next boy here, I'll show you for, again, the scans that we do in the office to see if there is that hidden stress. This kiddo, he was in the spring of 5th grade, and you can see, again, a big stress in his upper neck. This was the example I just shared where mom had 60 hours of labor, 3 hours of pushing, and that amount of pressure on this little baby's head and neck threw things off at a very early age. He also skipped crawling. So sometimes we look back at those motor milestones, and if there isn't proper movement, maybe it's skipping crawling, having difficulty rolling or sitting, there's a poor tone. Maybe your baby was born and their head was stuck to the side, something like torticollis, or their head bones were smushed and affecting how well they could move. That can all impact the sensory system later on. So in this kiddo's case, he had a lot of overwhelm from hearing and vision. So much so that he would become extremely anxious needing to go to school because he knew that when he got dropped off, there'd be so many other kids talking and laughing and playing and moving around that his brain would get overwhelmed. As a result, they had to make a special exception and have him go through the back door of the school to avoid all that stimulation out front. So mom started bringing him in to get adjusted, and one of the cool things that happened is she started in the spring, and by that summer they had a trip to Disney planned, and she was worried, how is he going to do on this trip? Because guess what? Disney has a lot of stimulation. Tough for a sensory kiddo to be in that much new stimulation, but he did great. We were able to get his nervous system, even in that few months' time, really in a much better place. Mom said the trip went surprisingly well. He got to enjoy it. They got to enjoy it as a family. So if this resonates with you, know that when you're on the journey of helping your kiddo with sensory issues is, yes, managing the external environment is important to help them feel safe, help their nervous system from being overwhelmed. But if all your energy is spent trying to prevent your child from getting overstimulated by pushing things out, by building the walls high and the moat wide, it's exhausting for you, and it doesn't actually help your child get to that next level. And that's what we're passionate about in our office, is helping your child actually start to heal, helping their nervous system get on track, so now you can set them up for success in the future because their brain is actually getting better and better. So check out our other blogs on sensory. As I said, I've got a video on proprioception that talks about the sensory seeking side of things. Watch that one, and reach out if you feel interested in getting this test done for your kiddos, or if you just have questions and want to chat more. I'll see you soon.